I think we're pretty spoiled most of the time. We get to see all the most amazing things, lots of action all the time. Oi, a little bit bumpy. Oi. We'll go up to these next elephants, see what they're up to. Oh, there's a road. You can just onto the road again. No idea where I'm going from here. Absolutely no idea whatsoever. I'm a distress call or a lion roar or see a vehicle stopped, crest somewhere else. And like I said earlier, the car that I've passed by, I've said, "Have you please?" You know, I always feel sorry for them. Oh, okay. Back down to South Africa. Scott's got something very exciting on foot.
Well, not as exciting as we would have hoped. It's not Tandy, but it is a hyena that's certainly seems to have an idea that there's something in this area. So maybe we are closer to Tandy than we expect. Good sign that it's snooping around this area. It did look quite intent, and thankfully hyena aren't really a threat to us unless we're asleep. So nothing to worry about there. Frustrating morning on foot. Initially, we were obviously so excited to find those initial tracks of Tandy, and most importantly, the fact that her cub was in tow. But shortly thereafter, we've kind of been flummoxed as to where exactly she's gone. So tricky stuff. We just kind of slowly, but extending our search, checking new areas, going to areas that are very sandy, that it's easy to see tracks in. Here we've got some very fresh hyena tracks. Very good coming down the road, but no sign of Tandy and a youngster anywhere here. We're going to continue searching for as long as it takes to find her. And while we do that, we're going to send you back up to the Mara with Ralph, who's got a hippo out the water.
Yes, well, everyone, this is always seems to happen after we've had a lot of rain and the clouds are still around, or it's misty in the morning. The hippo's generally spending a little bit more time out of the water and spending more time grazing in the open plains. And that's no different with this individual, but it looks like it might be slowly making its way back towards the Mara River. But for the time being, at least we're getting to see it nice and clearly out of the water. It looks to be a bull. That's now walking towards us, which is quite nice. They can be a little bit more nervous, obviously, out on land, especially with the vehicles. So they're not as calm as they would be if they were in the water. But it looks like it's potentially starting to graze again. Getting a little bit of food there. Look at that big mouth. Wow. Massive head. He looks to be a little bit tired. Doing a little bit of chewing there, but you can see very square mouth, like you would find with the white rhino, but much bigger even with the hippo. Lots of sort of fatty areas as well on the body, but they have a very quick turn of speed, I can tell you that. Even though it looks like it's quite awkward for it running, if he wanted to, he could go pretty fast. Now, David Napper, you want to know why are hippos' ears so small? Well, it's because mostly of how much time they spend in the water. And they want to limit the amount of water that is able to go into the sort of ear cavity, because I'm sure if you feel what it's like if you've constantly got water in your ear, it can lend itself or tend to start giving a lot of infection, especially if it gets blocked up a lot. So small ears means a small amount of water is able to actually go into the ear and less chance for infection. Now, I know a lot about this because I spend a lot of time in the water, or I have in the past at least, swimming and surfing and all of that, and eventually your body actually starts reacting to the amount of time you're spending in the water and how much water you have in your ears, and it actually starts growing closed. Cartilage starts to grow and actually almost seal your ear up, and eventually you do need to have it surgically cut out. But that just goes to show that even land mammals can start to adapt to a life in water, and that's what even as humans we can evolve pieces of cartilage that will grow to stop the water going in and causing ear infections all the time. But obviously with the life in water, and that's what the hippos have done as well. So, from one very big, happy animal moving back towards the water, let's head you on back to Noel, who's got a very different animal to show you.
I do indeed. It is very different from a hippo. I have an antelope species. It's an Impala. Now, these Impala, especially these young ones that we're looking at now, were busy running and chasing each other and doing this sort of amazing rocking horse motion. But I think they've tired themselves out and have now stopped, and they're standing in the shade. Now, they're much bigger than they were a couple of weeks ago. We're starting to gear up to that part of the season where all the little babies stop being little babies and start looking more like adults. But I still enjoy Impala. I think they're a beautiful antelope species, especially with their coloration. That one's being rather rude at the moment. Oh, there you've got that aloe grooming that's happening. So aloe grooming is grooming each other, and their teeth are movable there on the bottom, so it works a little bit like a comb. So when they groom themselves or groom each other like you're seeing now, it helps take out sort of dead hairs and ticks and things. Now, this would be a favorite food for someone like Hasana or Kachava. Kachava, for anyone that's new with us, Kachava is a female leopard we sometimes see in this area, and Hasana is a young male leopard we sometimes see in this area. And I thought at first, as when they were running about, that possibly there was a predator, but then they were running to one side and then running back, so it was just in play. And I haven't picked up any tracks as of yet, but I'm hoping when we come around towards the open areas in the airstrip, we might pick up on one of those leopards and see if we can do a little bit of tracking and actually find them. Now, there's an adult that's crossing the screen, so you can see the size difference. So the little ones are still smaller than the adults, but they're getting much, much, much bigger. Now, you usually see Impalas in herds like this, females and young together, and then you'll sometimes get males mixed in with the females, and sometimes the males are often a little bachelor group, depending on the times of the year. And these are one of the species that are very water dependent. So one of the reasons why we're seeing such a large herd is because we are close to Chitwa Dam, which is a permanent water source. Now, Shawnee, you want to know if Impalas are related to gazelles. So, Shawnee, gazelles are a type of antelope, and Impala are a type of antelope. So, yes, they're related in that way, but they're not more closely related than that. They do look very similar to some of the antelope species you were seeing up in the Masai Mara. Our springbok that we get here, not here on Djuma, but here in South Africa, are more closely related to those gazelles that you see up there with Taylor and Ralph. Now, Tristan is having an amazing morning with a male lion, so let's head back to him so that you all can enjoy the scene with him that side.
Well, we are having an incredible morning. You can see Tinyo is now stopped in the most perfect place and he's just busy grooming himself. So he's in a situation where he's licking, just trying to get all of those bits of meat and maybe if there's a bit of fur that was disturbed when he went up the tree. And how cool is that for a look into the sort of intimate look into a male lion grooming? You can see those rough tongue, even the little hooks on the tongue. And as he licks, you can actually see how the fur is combed by that tongue. Isn't that incredible? That's very cool, Willem. Well done. It's not often you get to see that close. So that is his paw that he's busy going at, his left paw that he's busy licking, and you can see the size of that paw in comparison to his face is absolutely massive. So he's got a majorly big paw, in comparison, and he does have actually a big track. Tinyo is one of the Birminghams that's got one of the biggest tracks. Even though he might not be the biggest bodied Birmingham, his feet are rather large, so seems to always leave a nice big paw print when he's around. One thing is for certain is that that face has seen a few battles of recent times. You can see there's a nice big gash under that left eye that he's got at the moment, and then a lot of little scars and wounds and various other things. And Tinyo probably is the most scarred of the Birminghams. I suppose Mfumo has also got a few on him too, but definitely Nena and Nsuku look a lot cleaner in the face than Mfumo and Tinyo. But awesome to see them again. It's been a long time since I've spent as long with the Birminghams and as active as this. Generally, I find that my luck with the Birminghams is that they tend to be sleepy whenever I find them, but today has been nothing short of epic, that's for sure. So I've thoroughly enjoyed my time, and I know a lot of you out there have been missing our lions quite a bit, and they seem to have come back a little bit in the last few weeks. We've seen a lot more of them than months prior to this, so it's nice that we've managed to kind of get into a situation where we can actually see these guys again. The other great thing about this, and I know it sounds really weird, is that these lions came from the north and almost a little bit to the east of where this kill was. And what's that meant is that I reckon Tandy has heard these lions or seen these lions during the night, and it meant that she came down and went back west deeper into Djuma, because we're very, very close to the Torchwood boundary here, and my worry was yesterday that she might just come down and walk straight into Torchwood with this cub, particularly if there was a threat of lions on the sort of western side of her, that she might then push into Torchwood and we wouldn't get to see her for quite a while. But these lions being here have actually meant that Tandy is now pushed back right into the center of Djuma, which is absolutely perfect. So that's also good news at the end of the day. But look at that, you can see the claws coming out a little bit. Look, how cool is that? That's such a cool visual. Now, Wiem is doing a sterling effort, and I believe a lot of you are absolutely loving these close-ups. Dr. Rob, you say his paw is as big as a salad plate. Well, it's about that size, and if you've ever been up close to a lion, and which I luckily have done, and you take their paw, you kind of grab it in two hands when they've been darted, and you check their claws, and if you push on their pads and the claws come out and the toes spread slightly, it really is the size of a salad plate. It is absolutely incredible how big their feet are. I would love to see a tiger's feet at some point in my life. I want to know how big those tracks are, because I believe a male tiger has absolutely monstrous size footprints. So I would love to see those guys as well, but he definitely does have huge paws, that's for sure, and it's an incredible thing to be close to them and just to see the sheer scale of them. You know, yesterday we had Tandy here, and I was just thinking about it just now. When he went up the tree, in comparison to her in that tree, he is positively ginormous. He's much larger, and I know it's a given that male lions are bigger, but he just dwarfed that tree in comparison to what Tandy was. Now you can see he's kind of looking back over at the tree as if to say, is there any more? I'm sorry, boy, there's not much, unfortunately. Right, well, we're going to sit tight with Tinyo and see what he gets up to. I don't think he's done for the morning just yet. And so while we sit here and enjoy his company, let's go back across to Ralph, who's in the company of a feathered friend this time.
Yes, everyone, well, look at this. We've found the largest heron in the world, called a Goliath heron for very apt reasons. He's very large, and he's going about his hunting here in this little drainage line with a little stream running through. He's looking for fish and moving extremely slowly, not to alert them to his presence. Very similar to the fishing type herons with that spear-like bill, but a little bit different to the black-headed heron, for instance. This is a real fishing heron. And there he's going a little bit deeper. But they are capable of catching quite large catfish and tilapia, but they will spear it. And look how he's moving very slowly through that edge there. Doesn't want to give the fish any idea or inkling that there's a predator around. A very spear-like bill there, and I've actually come across quite a lot of large fish that have obviously been speared by egrets, a great white egret, or mostly herons, I would say, Goliath and grey herons, but they bitten off a little bit more that they can chew. So they've landed up killing the fish, but not being able to swallow the whole thing down or fly off with it because it's too big. So they eat a little bit of the meat off of it, and then off they go, because it's not exactly easy for them to tear or rip meat with that kind of bill. Now, Banana, you're wondering if they can fly. Yes, they can. They are not exactly very graceful flyers. It's quite a laboured flight pattern. They are very heavy birds, and they're quite large. So you can imagine that it's not the most fantastic looking bird in flight, but they can fly nonetheless. But this is their preferred habitat, just on the banks and shores of little pans and ponds and little streams. Now he's just slowly walking through the edge of the pan. They're still very stealthily looking for some potential prey. It would normally be fish or frogs. He hasn't had any luck since we've been here, but we need to be patient, just like the heron is, very silently and quietly moving along. Now, Snazzy, you want to know if they're related to storks or flamingos? Yes, they are. They're in a similar group to the storks and the herons. And one way of telling between a stork and a heron is in flight. When you see storks, their head and neck, as well as their legs, directly straight out as they're flying, whereas a heron, they tuck their neck in. So in flight, a very easy way to tell between them, but they are in the same grouping and very similar habits as well. Very similar body structures, long legs, all long necks as well, and frequenting very similar habitats too. So all in the same grouping. But this being the largest of the lot, the Goliath heron, and it's just difficult to get some perspective because he's actually quite a big bird. Let's hope that he can spot something. Looks like he's moving forward there with intent. It's not always about lion and leopard kills. Sometimes we can watch a kill unfolding with a bird such as a Goliath heron. Look at this, silently moving forward, ever so carefully, not giving his position away. I wonder if he's spotted something there that he can move forward in the hope that he's going to spear it. You have to get as close as possible as he can, just like a lion or a leopard, as it stalks up through the grass before it makes its final lunge and ambush. Because if he goes for the lunge too early, the fish will see him before he's close enough to be able to make the catch. And then what they'll do is basically try and swallow it whole. And that's why it's quite difficult for them if they get prey that's too big. If they can't swallow it down, well, they don't really have the tools to be able to tear it up or rip the meat, because they do need to literally just try and get it head first and throw the whole thing back down the throat. They're not a tearing and cutting or ripping type bird. Literally just swallow your food whole. But he's being very patient. Now, Tabitha, you want to know if they nest in trees? They can do. They can also nest on little bushes or any kind of platform that is near to the water. They can, yes, any kind of concrete structure, even man-made. They might put their little bits of branches and so on top of that. It's not a very elaborate nest. It's more just like a bit of a platform that they put on top of a tree. Now look at, there is a lot of catfish moving around in front of this Goliath heron, but I think that they're all rather large for it per se, but I'm sure it wouldn't not go for one of them, but they are quite big. if you look very carefully, when you're seeing these bubbles coming up, you can actually see the mouth of the catfish. So while we wait here and see if this heron actually manages to catch a fish, let's head you on back to South Africa with Noel, who's got some of our lovely wallowing animals.
I do have some lovely wallowing animals. I had a bigger wallowing animal. I had this beautiful herd of elephants set up with this lovely screenshot from Senzo, and then this male elephant came, and then I looked down for 2 seconds, and then all of a sudden all of them were running. Not a sound, nothing. And this male was just chasing them all away. So we were trying to find them again for you, and we came across this little trio of warthogs having a bit of a nap in the road. It is quite warm now. The sun has come out. And so they found a little shady spot here. It looks like a mum and 2 older youngsters, possibly from last year. Oh, here come the elephants. What is going on? And the Impala are now running? What is happening? There's craziness happening. The elephants just started trumpeting in the background. Now all the Impala are chasing each other. The warthogs haven't moved. All right, the elephants have quieted down in the background. The Impala have stopped chasing each other around. And the warthogs are going, I just really can't be bothered. Now, warthogs, for the most part, sleep during the night. They go down into their burrows, and then as it gets light, they come out. They're one of the few species that have similar rhythms to us. It also behooves them to do that because of what lurks in the darkness. So lion and leopard, which love to eat a warthog, and they can't see at night, just like we can't see at night. So they go bum first into those termite mounds inside of their burrows, and then they'll come out and meander around. Now, normally this time of the morning, you would see them sort of rooting up the bottom ends of grass, the rhizomes there, and maybe eating some marula fruits, and generally feeding themselves. But I think that maybe these ones had too much of a good morning, because they're having the oddest little nap. All right, now we have a lion up a tree with Tristan, so I think let's head on over to him.
We do indeed. So Tinyo is back up the tree and still trying to find food. I don't know what he's doing, because there really isn't anything up there for him, but he's still going to persevere nonetheless and try his luck and see what he can find, and see whether or not there is at least some semblance of nutrients up there. I wonder if he'll lie up there. Wouldn't that be epic if he decided just to sleep up there and to just sit down and kind of spread himself out like he would if he was a leopard? I think that would be very, very cool. Now, Vim, should we risk it and try and see if we can get round? Because I don't know if he's going to be up there for long, but there's a very cool shot from the other side with a nice clean sky. So we can try. Let's try, because we got quite a blown out sky behind there. So we're going to try and get round to where I had him yesterday, or where I had Tandy yesterday, although it looks like he's coming down now. So let's just actually stay right where we are, because I'm sure he's going to come down towards us, which is going to be pretty cool to see. That's for sure. Well, I think so anyway. Now, there sounds like something snorting next to us, so I don't know if maybe there's some sort of animal that's very close by, but there is something that's snorting. How cool is that? Is that just not the most epic sight ever, to have a big male lion of that size sitting in the tree? And you can see he's looking all over the place, trying to find... Ashton, you say you think he just likes his newfound climbing skills. Well, I agree, Ashton. I think he's now just showing off a little bit. Maybe he's realized that he can kind of climb, and so it's nice just to show off and have a situation where he can display how big and strong he is and how he's able to actually get up into a tree, which is it wouldn't surprise me. Male lions are funny things. Are you going to sleep there? No, you're not going to sleep there. Surely not. Oopsie. G1, you think maybe he thinks it's a magic food tree? Well, why not? If there was one and then there was two, well, why wouldn't there be a third? That would be quite a nice thing to have, is a tree that just magically produces carcasses whenever you climb it. And maybe that's what he's thinking, is that if he just climbs it enough, he will get himself another meal. This is so cool, though. Now it looks like a bit of his mane has actually come off on the branch there. I don't know if it's his mane or the water bucks, but there's some sort of... No, that's his mane. I think that's just pulled out. So you can see why our lions here tend to have much shorter manes than those of the Masai Mara. And it's because of the brush that they walk through and the treed areas that they walk through. A lot of their mane ends up pulling out and ending up on trees and branches like this. Please sit down on there. It will just be so epic if he lies down and actually sits there. I think it would be, I don't know about all of you, but I certainly think it would be a very cool thing to see. Oopsie, no, not very steady. This is just so cool. Are you going to try going down in the reverse? No, that's not going to work for you, buddy. This is funny to watch, though. Come on, Tinyo. You can make a plan, buddy. You've done it twice. You can do it again. He looks very puzzled, doesn't he? He looks as though he doesn't quite know what to make of all of this. So Steph Winterboer says a circus lion. Well, yes, Steph, this is about as circus as it gets. I wonder how many times Steph has seen these lions up in trees like this. You can see he's also, just from grooming himself, has opened up that wound on his face quite a bit. So while he was rubbing with his paw, he caught it and just opened it up. And I think he's decided, now, that's it. No more show for all of you. I'm done being a circus clown. It's now time to carry on and be a strut around like a proper male lion and show himself off like the ringmaster. Right, let's just turn around because otherwise we're not going to see very much at all. It looks like he's actually going to go now and going to get himself into a situation where he's going to maybe go for water. I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case, given that it's after a meal they often do try and go find water. I'm just trying to get myself into a place where I can turn. Right, now I'm going to turn around and try and follow Tinyo. There are a number of other cars with us. So while I do that and see where he's going to go and whether or not he's going to go in for a drink, let's send you back across to Ralph and his patient heron who is still waiting for food.
So everyone, if you want to watch a heron hunting, you do need to be as patient as a heron. And this heron has pretty much moved about 20 centimeters since you were last with us. He's advancing ever so slowly. Seems like he's got his eye on a patch where there are some fish, but the fish are now surfacing all around him. I think he's just looking for one the right size, because those ones all look a little bit out of his range, a little bit too big, but I think he'll take what he can get. But he's very focused, and we're just waiting for that last final stab at the water. I'm not sure how he's able to see the fish because it is quite murky, so, and every now and then he does sink in a little bit in the mud. Now, Fuzzman Sparkle, I'm glad that I could bring you up in your numbers. I think 144 you're at now. Well done. I'm glad that I've been able to help. And that's in the Mara only. Well done. You've got only another 300 to go. I haven't got that amount, don't worry. I'm not quite sure how many I've got. I'm not one to take down the numbers. I will, however, once I get my camera up here, excuse me, start to count the amount of birds that I get on camera. But for me, it's quite difficult when I spot birds to be able to mark them down. So I just enjoy the moment. You can see there that heron is very patient, going about its business of hunting, and a lot of fish rising all in the area, but is still waiting for the perfect moment. We're hearing a lot of hippos now. We're quite close down near to the river, and we're also hearing the very iconic fish eagle, and we've got another little bird that's coming in just a bit closer here, one of the blacksmith lapwings, very special here in the Mara. Also a ground bird with very long legs, quite similar to that of the crowned lapwings and the wattled lapwings that we're also getting here. Also nesting on the ground. And these birds quite special in that they firstly try and mob whatever comes near to their nest. So they'll dive bomb, and actually quite aggressively. And it doesn't matter what size animal it is, even an elephant will get the full might of the lapwings. And if that doesn't work, well then the lapwing might go down on the ground and start to feign an injury in a hope that if it was any predator, that it would start to follow the lapwing. And then at the last minute, well, the injury is gone and the bird flies away, but the predator has been led away from the nest. So they've got a few different tactics, and also the eggs are very well camouflaged when they lay them on the ground. They've got lots of speckles on them, and generally with the same kind of background that they would be nesting in. As opposed to other birds that are just plain coloured, they're normally up in nests and well protected. The eggs that are camouflaged are generally in exposed nests and normally on the ground as well. See there, it's just digging through some of the dung, probably hoping for a few grubs and insects that are just making their home inside the dung there. It's not only guinea fowl that will come and open it up, the spur fowl as well, and even then the very small lapwings. Wonderful to watch with their very long legs. Obviously needs to keep them a little bit above the ground and also above the grass. Okay everyone, I think I might be leaving this lovely birding spot here. That's a great white egret. And I think we're going to move along a little bit, and while we do that, let's head you on back to South Africa and Scott, and let's see how he's getting on.
Well, we're not getting along too well. Herbie's just pointing out what he says are tracks. All I can see is some sticks and some stones and some leaves, but it just goes to show what skills he has when it comes to tracking down these animals. We are guessing, well, Herbie's guessing, and I'm just relaying what he thinks, is that possibly Tandy may have stashed the cub somewhere in this area, away from all of the activity around that kill that she had, and it sounds like you've been having a wonderful time laughing at Tinyo as he does his thing up and down that tree. And she may have gone back there. She may well have been spying on you while you guys were spying on Tinyo, because it's unlikely she would have just forgotten and given up on that food. I think her main goal was just to move her cub from the danger zone, and once she had done that, she could have stashed it somewhere in this area. This is the area where we actually first had her kind of denning, or at least the first visual of the cub, a little bit behind us, and she may have well gone back there. So we are hoping that by being in this area now, we may bump into her on her way back to see the cub. And there's kind of one area that we haven't really checked, and that's to the north of where we are here, so it might be worth us heading up there and seeing, just making sure that there's no tracks we've missed, and it kind of will just mean we've done a full check of the perimeter around where we had our last tracks. And I guess, even though we haven't had any luck finding the animals themselves, just the breakthrough that we know that cub is still alive and well is absolutely wonderful stuff, and I'm sure it won't be long until we do track her down. Very good, we're going to keep snooping about. Hopefully we'll have a last-minute surprise before the end of the safari, but for now, back to Tristan and Tinyo.
Well, you're not the only one sniffing about, Scotty. Tinyo is also, well, not only panting, but sniffing too. He's on the tracks for the Angama pride. They're all around us here. I've got tracks for the Angamas all on the road and in this section. Where they actually ended up, I'm not quite sure, but he's sniffing under every bush. He's following these kind of footprints, and you can see he'll probably end up lying right there, because this is where a number of the tracks are, and I think he's getting quite hot. The sun is coming out now, and it's starting to get a little on the warm side, and unfortunately there's not a very good view. VM, let me go forward for you a little bit, because there's a little gap here, and we should be able to see what's going on a little better than what we've got at the moment. So there we go, that's good, VM. How's that, buddy? So I think that should be a bit better. You can see he's got himself into a really nice little bush there with a nice amount of shade. It's at least going to be far more comfortable than if he was in the bright sunlight, because I can tell you now, since that sun's come out from the clouds, it is incredibly warm. And so for a male lion, after climbing and eating, it's, I suppose, time for a nap soon. So he'll probably just pass out under this tree, and this is where he'll spend the majority of the day. What interests me is where these Nkumas have gone. They seem to have walked everywhere. I was asking Aubrey and listening to the conversation that he had with Noel about where their tracks went, and they went on Mamba, and they went on Central, and they went on Chitakatline, and they were at Gwaripan, and so they've moved around quite a bit last night, and I wonder if they're not just lying somewhere in this general vicinity, and that's why he was tracking them, and he bumped into us with Tandy's kills, and just kind of made his way there and got himself a fortuitous meal. And I suppose, you know, a little bit of nutrients goes a long way, but it's funny to see how that didn't even fill him up. That's the amazing thing. He doesn't even look as though he's eaten. Tweety Kid, you're wondering if a lion would kill with a single blow from its paw. So, probably not. I mean, it could disable an animal for sure. So I have seen lions hitting animals on the back, so when they're running away, they just kind of put their paw down on the top of that animal and they break their back, and that animal is disabled immediately, but it's not dead. So actually killing it, no, probably not, unless some freak accident it's able to kind of break its neck in a place that does something that kills it immediately. But generally, no, it just disables the animal. Most of the time also when lions hunt, is they're not actually trying to hit the animal and put a lot of power into it. They're more trying to trip the animal up so that the animal skids, and then they can just grab it with their teeth and try and get it over the throat or the mouth in order to suffocate it in that way. So they're not in a way that they're trying to actually kill an animal by swiping it with its paw. I think if they had to hit you though, imagine if you've seen people slap each other. If a lion had to slap you, I think you would know all about it. And if you were a baby, I think maybe there could be a definite possibility that it would be able to break the neck and kill a baby. But as a adult human, I'm not sure. It'd be interesting to know. I certainly wouldn't want to be the one that finds out what it's like to be slapped by a male lion. Would you want to be, Vildy? No, I don't think so. It'll wipe you out, exactly. And if it doesn't break your neck, it's certainly going to leave a nice big gash across the face, that's for sure, and your face will be a bit of a mess. So I suppose it's possible, but they don't really, that's not how they operate, is they're not trying to kill everything with the swipe of the paw. And in terms of when they fight together, they won't kill each other. They're built strongly. That's why they've got these manes, is to try and kind of make sure that they don't kill each other with just one swipe of the paw. It's to try and protect themselves and make sure that they are somewhat protected from fighting with one another. But you can see he's kind of just turned his head away slightly and is just moving off. Well, not moving off, but kind of moving towards the back end. And this is what happens when you have to groom, is you have to start trying to sort of get into all those spots that you couldn't reach. And so I think he's setting up for a afternoon snooze, or morning and afternoon snooze, should I say, under this bush, because when they start to groom like this, and they groom everywhere, including their genitals, which is what he's busy doing right now, then it's normally time for sleep and time for a bit of a rest. So we'll just have to see how it goes. Lions are pretty obsessed with that part. They tend to groom there quite a bit, male lions. I don't know why, but they do it quite often. It's a strange kind of phenomenon. Right, Vildi, should I reposition? Because this is not a very good view at all. We've got a bit of the back and the shoulders. Ooh, Kyle, you want to know who's more graceful when it comes to climbing trees, James or Tinyo? Well, I'll tell you one thing, is Brent is definitely the least graceful of all of them, and he, well, we know, fell out of a tree very, very quickly, and he ended up on his backside. So Brent is definitely the least graceful. Then I would say probably Tinyo would be there, and then I think James does a very good job. James is very elegant in the way that he climbs and dismounts, and even when he slips, he makes it look like he intended to slip, whereas everybody else tends to look as though they've made a mistake. Even Tinyo, he kind of stumbled a bit on his dismount. He should have stuck with his first one. His first one was his best dismount, and then the next two that followed were not ideal at all. So he's got some work to do on that, and he'll have to try and compete with James. I'm sure James will be very happy to hear that he's the best tree climber out of Brent and Tinyo. Now, I can't remember who climbed the tree when it was the carcass on Chitwa airstrip. Phil, did you remember who it was?
I think it was maybe Nena that climbed the tree there, and I would like to know what his score was. Maybe Mfumo, I can't remember. It was Byron was in the sighting, and so I don't remember who it was, but maybe you guys can help us out on #SafariLive, which Birmingham was the one that climbed the tree, and whether you think that Birmingham climbed better than James, Brent, or Tinyo. And like I say, I don't think Brent is really in this competition at the moment, because while he did climb it very well, his dismount was less than perfect, and how he didn't break something, I'm not quite sure. Now, that is in no way an invite for karma to make me fall out of a tree in any time soon. I'm just going to put that disclaimer out there, because the last time I had something to say about Taylor being stuck in the mud, we all know how that ended. So I am going to stay well away from trees for the next little bit, and certainly going to try and keep myself out of trouble, because I don't want a similar situation to happen. But there you can see that cut that is underneath the eye. That is definitely a lot wider than it was when we first saw him, and a lot kind of more open, and that's just from grooming. So he kind of kept rubbing his paw over that area. The flies keep landing on it, so he kind of hits it with the paw, and that seems to be forcing the skin open somewhat. Now, that's not anything to worry about. There's no need to be stressed about a cut like that. This is just part of a male lion's life. You can see how many other scars are all over that face, which indicates that he is in a situation where he's done this many times before. Now, you see he's on the tracks exactly where I was parked just now. I was saying that there's tracks all around me, and so you see he's sniffing on those tracks exactly where we were parked, and is busy working out, where did these lions go? I want to find these females, because maybe females mean food and as well as mating rights. So you see, nose down, sniffing all along the Nkulma Pride's tracks, and let's see how he starts to go. Now, please excuse the aerial that we have there. He's starting to go behind the car, and so there is an aerial that we do have in the shot, so I do apologize about that. But let me turn for you, Vildi, so you don't have to. Right, here we go. Now, I was hoping he was going to stay sleeping there because I moved, otherwise we would have been perfectly situated to follow him from the front. So I'll try and get around him and in front of him and see if we can just kind of reverse as he walks. There we go. So Michael, you say it was Nena that climbed the tree. Well, what do you think, Michael? Can you give me a score, please, as to what you think his climb and dismount was, and then what you think, you know, James's climb and dismounts are like as well. We'll just leave it up to you guys as the judges as to what you think and who you think is the best climber at Safari Live. Obviously, the leopards are disqualified from all of this. They are not allowed to be a part of the climbing competition because, well, that's their speciality, so they don't get to be voted in on all of this. So before you say leopard, we can't have a leopard, unfortunately. I actually think we need to start testing some of the other newer presenters in terms of their tree climbing skills, because I've yet to see Steve, Ralph or Noel up a tree, and I would like to see all three of them try and climb, so we'll have to lay down the challenge. I know it's difficult in the Mara, so we'll have to wait when they all respectively get back to Djuma for them to do so. Right, now there he is. He's just got nose down to the ground, busy sniffing and smelling. So while we try and see where Tinyo is going to go, let's go back across to Scotty D and see what he's up to and whether or not he's had any more luck with Tandy and the cub.
I think Tristan needs to be careful about telling people to start climbing trees or anything of the sort, because the last time he started getting a little bit cheeky, he fell out the car. So I would urge him to retract from any kind of, not nasty ideas, but plans of the sort, because it seems like karma has a way of getting back to him. I'm waiting for my turn. I guess it's just a matter of time before all of us have a blooper live. I haven't had any serious ones that I can think of. And on the topic of climbing trees, I don't think I actually have climbed a tree live. So maybe it's something I need to do at some point in time. I didn't really want to steal the thunder of those who do enjoy climbing trees. I thought I'd just leave that avenue to them, try and discover something else of my own. We've temporarily lost Herbie, but not to worry. We are all kind of feeling a little bit hungry and wanting to head back for breakfast now. So I'm sure we'll cross paths with them at some point. And when we do kind of lose track of one another, we just do some whistles. So instead of shouting, "Herbie, where are you?" we go like this. Oh, he's right here. There we go. He had quite a quick response this time. And good that we've managed to catch up with him again. And now that we've reunited with our expert tracker, Mr. Herbie, we will send you back to Noelle. I'm not too sure what she's up to.
Scott, we've left Chitwa. We couldn't find our elephants again. They've run into an area where we can't drive, silently being chased by this male elephant. It was absolutely crazy. And now I'm trying to see if maybe, just maybe, our lions will pop up that we were looking for this morning in an area where you all can see where I am. Now, I've stopped here by this little mud pan because it's gotten a bit warmer, and I was hoping for a few things that might come and wallow or possibly drink, but I actually want to show you from here this beautiful tree. Can you see all the mud that's on the bark there? So this is what happens when warthogs and, well, we haven't seen buffalo here, but in places with buffalo when they're around, and elephants and also rhino, and they'll roll in this mud, and then they come up to trees like this, and you can see where all that mud has collected as they rub it off themselves. So it's not just for cooling down when it gets hot, but it also very much helps taking parasites and ticks off the bodies. We've been talking a lot about how all of you have been seeing more and more ticks, and we've been seeing more and more ticks because it's so dry out here. Another reason why I'm sitting in this particular spot at this moment is this is where Scott and Herbie found those tracks for Tandy this morning, and I believe that Scott said that Tandy has hidden her cub somewhere not far from here, but I don't think they've actually found Tandy yet. I'm having a little bit of problems with my earpiece, so I'm getting sort of every third update, but it sounds as if she hasn't been seen, but that Tristan's still having a really good time with that male lion. So from here, I'm just going to slowly come up and see just maybe if those lions have popped out at all. And whilst I'm doing that, why don't you head on over to Tristan with, I believe, Tinyo.
Well, we still are with Tinyo, and he's still... Oh, no, we're not doing anything if we're reversing like that. But he's still kind of nose down, sniffing around, trying to work out where this pride has gone. He's ventured off into a thicket a little bit, so I'm a bit hesitant to go in there. I've been in here before, and it is less than ideal to get into this area. It is a horrible, horrible place where he's heading, and it's not a place that I would want to really try and take one of these vehicles before TV shows, because that's a recipe for a bent sidearm, steering rod, something like that when off-roading through this section. Like I say, I've done it twice, and both times was very rough on the cars, and so we don't want to break rusty before the TV show. Otherwise, Steph, who's probably sitting in FCU, is going to shout at me a lot because we've just fixed all the cars and gotten them sorted, so I don't want to cause any undue stress onto them. And we've had such an epic sighting that I feel like if he does disappear into this thicket, it won't be the worst thing at all. You know, we've at least seen some amazing visuals of Tinyo, and if he, like I say, if he does just start to kind of ghost in, I'll go in a little bit because here is nice and open, but once beyond this, I think we're going to probably have to call it a little bit. He's still kind of got his nose down, but there's tracks that go back towards the road, so I'm kind of hoping that all he's doing is just sniffing where they were moving around, and then he's going to come back towards the road. There we go. We've still got at least a fairly decent visual of him. Nope, he's now turning back. No, I don't think we're going to be able to follow him where he's going now. It's going to start getting very rough. This is an area once where Tandy was hunting, and we followed her through here, and it definitely was not very pleasant at all. Now, while we kind of watch Tinyo just disappear into the thickets and into the deep, dark abyss that is this drainage line, let's go back across to Taylor McCurdy, who, well, has held the show together and really is the backbone of this morning's sunrise safari.
I don't know what happened there, everybody, but nonetheless, we're on our way just a little bit towards the marshy area, the swampy area, and we are on the lookout for birds and any of the lions that maybe are showing themselves. It would be nice to see some predators this morning because it's nice and cool. It's been very wet over the night, so I'm pretty sure that they'll be full of beans this morning, running around all over the place, as it was the case with the hyenas. So we are looking out for them, but we haven't spotted any lions for now. So we do just continue on our way, but as I've said, we do need to try and stick a little bit to the main roads, because if we head into that area today where we were yesterday, which had started to dry out a little bit, but even yesterday before the rain, it was touch and go in some places, and so I'm not planning on going down there anytime soon. We need the sun to come out and dry everything up a little bit. Otherwise, we're just going to be putting the Land Rover into that Land Rover graveyard. Because if you get stuck in there, it's quite difficult to get out, because you would have to have, in some places, even a 100-meter rope to be able to pull you out, because the vehicle coming to help you would probably get stuck as well, and so it would pile up. So, as I say, we're also heading into TV soon, and I don't want to be making problems for our vehicles. So we're trying to look as best we can for predators from the main roads. And we've had a fantastic morning's drive up until now, but now gone a little bit quiet. But we just need to keep looking, keep being positive, and I'm sure we're going to spot something exciting, isn't it so? It's often when it's quiet like that, a little bit, that you get something exciting that pops itself out. Maybe I'll stop in here and we'll have a look how the Hammerkop nest is going and how that couple is busy building. So let me just get in there and see if they're busy, and if they are, I'm sure we'll have a look at them. But while we do that, let's head you on back to South Africa once more, to Noelle, and see how she's going.
Ralph, I'm just bumbling about. I'm trying to see if we can find some zebra, but our hunt for zebra has gone just like our hunt for lion today. Who knows? So I'm going to come up and check around Quarantine, because we sometimes see zebra around there, although we've been seeing them less and less because there's no water in front of the lodge at the moment. Now, this is what... Oh, Chris, I believe you say there's zebra. Is there zebra or impala by the dam? Ooh, there's a huge herd of impala, Chris says, in front of the dam. So I was just saying there's no water in there, and that's why we're not seeing a lot of zebra. But not every animal is going to know that there's no water in there at the moment, so it's going to be part of their regular habits to come past and give it a check. So Kirst is saying that this herd of impala is large enough that she's got Kirst has her big voice on and saying it's huge. And so we're going to go head over there and hopefully show you this huge herd of impala, and we'll just check Quarantine along the way. I also haven't been seeing as many wildebeest around lately. Again, lack of water, and the closest water other than the dam that's here is that tiny little pan, Galago Pan, but then also Treehouse Dam, which is behind us. So I have a feeling everything's sort of moved this way and then up towards Biffleshoek Dam. So something that I've been keeping an eye on over the past couple of days, or let's say week, is the amount of elephants and where we've been seeing them. And we've been seeing quite a few of them at Chitwa Dam, which is always full, and Biffleshoek Dam, which is very full. It's also on some of our boundaries. And they've already figured out, those elephants, that the water is not physically here where we are, and have started to move off that way. So with all these big, beautiful, puffy white clouds that are up and around, I am hoping that they come together, form some rain clouds and drop some moisture on us. But there's not much moisture for them to suck up at the moment, unfortunately. But I am hoping. I'm hoping and crossing fingers and holding thumbs and wishing very, very, very hard for it. All right, Quarantine, anything for us today? Sorry, Kirst, one more time. I'm so sorry. Popo, you're asking, will there be rehearsals next week? Yes, we're going to have 4 rehearsals next week, gearing up for TV. And for those of you that don't know, we are going to be live for 5 days. Well, 5 nights. Ooh, was that leopard tracks there, Senzo? Or is that... it was a hyena. So we're going to be live in the United States on Nat Geo Wild. We're starting on the 4th of February at 10 o'clock Eastern Time after that big game. And my family is very excited about us being live, but they're even more excited who's inside the big game. They live in New England, so anyone in the States knows what I'm chatting about. Then we'll also be live on the 5th of Feb, the 6th, the 7th, and then our last night will be on the 8th, all at 10 o'clock Eastern Time, Nat Geo Wild. It's very, very, very exciting. So we will have rehearsals for that, 4 rehearsals as we talked about, coming up starting, I believe, on the 30th of January, which is just around the corner. And then also, while I'm busy talking about our awesome TV shows, I'm just going to remind everyone about Safari Bingo. So when you're watching us live from 10 o'clock Eastern in the United States, from the 4th of Feb to the 8th of Feb, we're going to be playing Safari Bingo. So the rules for Safari Bingo, you can go to natgeo.com/Safari Live, and all the rules and regulations are up there. And the person that wins Safari Bingo is going to win a trip for 2 to Africa to go on safari. It's super exciting. So you all must play. You must play. I'm really excited. It's my first time playing Safari Bingo with all of you. It's a game that we used to play some time back, and we've been given all of our little hints and words and clues, and I'm super excited because some of the ones that I'm going to have to do are going to be quite interesting. I'm very, very, very excited. Okay, we're almost to what used to have water in front of it, in front of the dam of Waiatella. Come on, rain, please, today, this afternoon. It would be lovely. Are you allowed to play, Senzo? No, you can't play because you work here. Senzo's sad at the back. He's saying, please, I want to play Safari Bingo. Senzo, you go on safari every day, my friend. Look, you're even in your safari socks. Yeah. Senz has his safari socks on that go up to his knees. It's loverly. I love those socks. No, you can't play, Senzo. You also don't live in the United States. All right, so I believe there's something in a tree. So we're going to head on over there. Maybe Tristan or maybe Scott. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yes, we do have something in a tree. It is a woodpecker, and it seems like it's busy doing some of its drumming to communicate with others. I'm hoping it does it again. Oh, that's not what we wanted you to do. The bearded woodpecker is quite well known for drumming on hollow logs, like it was over there just before you joined us. Doesn't really sound anything like that. More like a knocking sound on a piece of hollow wood. And I was hoping that we were going to be able to show it to you, but no joy, and also no further joy with Tandy and her youngster, but we're confident that this afternoon Tandy will pop up with that cub somewhere in and around the Chelapan area. That's where we last had tracks of her and the cub together before we think she departed on her own mission. So at least we've kind of solved the mystery to the degree that we know that cub is alive. I'm sure a lot of you are relieved. And wouldn't it be interesting if we could have an idea of exactly what goes on when we're not around, what happened yesterday when Tristan left with Tandy. But I guess having those kind of little missing parts of the puzzle does keep it interesting and does open up the opportunity for us to make up our own theories as to what may have happened. Very good. It sounds like Noelle's got herself in and amongst a large herd of Impala, so why don't you head off there for the rest of the safari.
See the actual dam, there's no water inside, but then you can see that it's just dry as a bone. And anyway, the dam cam's up. I'm not sure if it's up. I think the elephants pulled the wires out, so no water there. But we do have a tiny bit of water that's just over here to the left that is put in artificially, and that actually helps with the fact that the dam has no water in it because of the rain. So the other day when I came back, this was also dried up, but it's now filled in, which is great stuff because that means that all of the species that are used to having some form of water in the dam will still be able to come through and get a drink. I still think that the lack of water in the dam does affect how much zebra and wildebeest we see. Sorry, Curse, I believe Ellen was asking. Can I tell them, Senzo? Ellen, you are asking if it's Senzo's birthday today. Ellen, you are correct, and Senzo is smiling from ear to ear at the back. It is Senzo's 33rd birthday. He is 3 today. Happy 3rd birthday, Senzo. We love you. So, but no lions for Senzo's birthday. No leopard, just beautiful Impala. That reflection's quite nice there. All right, everybody, so we've had quite a fabulous morning, of course, as we always do. I'm super jealous of Tristan's Tinyo sighting up in the tree. How absolutely fantastic. Now, don't forget, we've talked about it, but we're live on Nat Geo Wild from the 4th to the 8th of Feb at 10 o'clock Eastern. And Safari Bingo, don't forget to go to natgeo.com/Safari Live to check out the rules and regulations for that. And we are going to be seeing you all this afternoon here from Djuma and also from the Mara. And of course, we will be live, 100% live, as we are every single day. So I just want to say thank you from myself and the birthday boy Senzo and Tristan and everybody in the Mara and everybody in FC.